Hello. Today we're going to be comparing the movie The Harder They Come with the music video for the song The Redemption Song by Bob Marley. The movie The Harder They Come is directed by Perry Henzell, who was born and raised in Jamaica, and it discusses the topics of poverty, social classism, and the impossibility of climbing that social ladder. It follows the story of Ivan Martin, who is a native of Jamaica, and he goes to the big city to try and become a famous reggae star, but is quickly disillusioned. Even though he does create a song that becomes very popular, he is still manipulated and taken advantage of by those above him, including a preacher who hired him to be a handyman, the producer who helps him produce the song, and later on a drug dealer who hires him to deal drugs. Ivan Martin, after being manipulated and taken advantage of, eventually resorts to crime and drug dealing, which eventually gets him killed. This movie explores a lot of those topics about how the social ladder in Jamaica is cruel and unjust, and how it always leads to people never being able to move out of their situation. The music video for the song, The Redemption Song, includes a lot of imagery about slavery and how it has impacts on future generations of those slaves. It is a discussion of how slavery it was a very horrible thing, and how it should not affect the people who are descendants of those slaves. It is about freeing yourself, as he says in the song, freeing yourself from mental slavery. Now, to discuss specific images, we're going to talk about one scene that I think is really valuable from each and how they really compare with each other and also contrast. In the movie, For the Harder They Come, I'll have the time mark somewhere in the video. We have a scene where Ivan Martin is trying to argue for rights to his song and how he's trying to argue that he should be paid more because his producer is only going to pay him $20. In this scene, we see that Ivan is below eye level with the camera, or he's on eye level with the camera. And as we look to the producer, he is above eye level, or he is higher up in the frame. We have Ivan Martin at this part of the frame, and his producer's at this part of the frame. First of all, it shows a power dynamic. And further, if you look into the messaging of the movie, the producer is technically above him in social standing and authority, while Ivan Martin is very much below. So this establishes in the movie how there's a lot of issues with social climbing and how people in different parts of the social ladder will always try to get above other people in the social ladder. This is a comparison that helps show how there is, in essence, neocolonialism in this movie, but more importantly, how people in impoverished states or in difficult states get one over each other, even if that means taking advantage of or exploiting. For the music video for the song, The Redemption Song, we have a lot of scenes. One particular one that I found very interesting was early on, we go into this king's hat sort of, and we zoom in and we get this hieroglyphics. Now this can mean a lot of things. Hieroglyphics relate to Egypt, which is a big culture in Africa. And furthermore, a lot of these hieroglyphics show modern day issues. We see slaves being transported onto boats. We see the American flag too. If you look at the bottom middle of the screen, and look at the top right, we see we see what we assume is a slave ship, and in general, we see slaves all around being whipped or being forced to work. This iconography shows how there's a huge history that dates back to Egyptian times and how it relates directly to modern times. How even though enslavement doesn't exist in the United States, it is still a prevalent problem how it is still harming and affecting the descendants of said slaves. Now these two movies compare and showing how there is a huge problem with social standings or social ladders or social classes. All of those. We can see in The Harder They Come that it's a much more active thing where we see how individuals of every day essentially get taken advantage of in every single way possible just for someone above them, either slightly or very much above them, try to get more power. And we can see in the Bob Marley part, he is discussing how issues with slavery affect those in social standings now, especially those of color. The comparison is that both of them are talking about social standings. They're talking about, while one is talking more about racism, far more about racism, they're both talking about how what makes a person like what makes their class puts them lower in society and how that's not a good thing. That's morally wrong. They contrast in how they deliver this message. The Harder They Come is much more much more of a movie format, of course, because it's telling a story, while Bob Marley's song is much more telling a wider picture, a wider artistry. It is not a direct story. It is a wide history that's trying to deliver a message to a mass group of people. That's all I got. Hope you liked it.